start that?
Yes.
Oops. That was just a second. That was me. Can you start that from so that you can okay.
So sorry, now it's starting.
Okay, so I will just jump in directly, and let's say what I would like to do is give you an introduction into design sprints. I want to do that from my personal perspective. My background is design, so I'm a designer. I'm running a design agency since more than 25 years here in Stuttgart, near Stuttgart, Germany. And this is my background. And I want to give you that perspective. There are many other perspectives, and I hope that you all can relate to that. And so I give an introduction. I explain what is design sprint, let's say what is the structure, the principles. And then I don't want to make keep you too much busy with listening. I also prepared an exercise. And for me, design sprint is really something very practical. And all the exercises you can also use in other situations. So I prepared 2 exercises. I hope we can run all of them. And there I will invite you then to a mural board where we do these exercises. And after that, we do a Q&A. And we are also very curious to hear from Dea about her experiences with design sprints. And so I start my screen sharing, just a moment. So I hope you all can see my screen. Okay, fantastic. So build the right thing before your competitors do. Let's say this is an overall topic, and that is something that most of my clients have as a, let's say, underlying strategy. So design sprint is where you go from a vague idea to a tested prototype within a week. And today I just, I need to shift that for a moment because it just doesn't work for me otherwise. Okay. So I hope that works now. So it's better for me. So let's say my agenda here is I want to show you why it works for me, just to give you the perspective, then how it also could work for you. And let's say how you run a design sprint and what you can adapt now. So this is what I just told you about the exercises, and then we will make a Q&A. So to start, I would like to just give you a quick introduction. So I'm Sabrina, and who you see with me on the photo is Jake Knapp, the inventor of the design sprint and also the author of the book Sprint, a bestseller. I'm running, so I learned and grow my design sprint business with big organizations like Mercedes, Porsche, Lab. They are here in Germany. And now I help organizations, and I focus on organizations that put planet before profit. And I help them to build the right thing. So we test that already. And also, furthermore, I don't stop there, but I also want to help them improving and create an innovation culture. So a question to you, and maybe you can just, Miriam, you can help me there with the chat. Please write into the chat, what do you guess? How many new products fail on the market? Just make your guesses just take a percentage. And maybe Miriam, you can, because I cannot, chat is a bit difficult for me to see that as well.
Sure, so we see many, 80%, 50%, 90%, 85%.
Okay, there is a 95% of products, so around 30,000 products per year are failing. And that's just a number from Clayton Christensen from 2019. And I want to share with you my biggest failure, which is maybe it's a bit over exaggerated, because it was a nice project, it's working, everyone is happy with it. But I want to show you why it failed and why DesignSprint is, and for me, an answer to exactly that. So this was it's a Daimler branch. It's Daimler Protix. They are in, let's say, they are managing data, and this was a project that was, let's say, it should launch an MVP after 4 months. That was let's say, a time-boxed project. So we had the idea, we had a concept beforehand, and then we built that MVP. So that was the objective. We started to build it, and while we were building, I experienced that fear of we are not ready yet. And we continued building until we launched it. So you see, we extended 3 times the time we wanted to, let's say, have in the beginning. And this is, I think, that was, I will also show you, explain you why that was. Like I just said, the client, it was more the client, let's say the team, was just afraid of showing something that wasn't 100% ready to their customers. And I think this is one of the biggest problems we have, that we don't want to share, let's say, things that are not ready. And the MVPs that usually are built are mostly real products, and not an MVP, which is a minimal viable product. So maybe you can think of a product failure you heard or you experienced yourself. Do you know something, let's say, from the internet, from the press? Do you have some product failure, big product failure? Maybe you can also share that into the chat, Miriam.
Yeah, until people are typing, I can think of one thing that was not a product, but a service that failed bigly in Germany when the vaccinations began, and people over the age of 80 were the first group to get vaccines. And they got an invitation letter to get the vaccines, but on the letter was a QR code that they would have to scan with a mobile phone. And many people over 80, I mean, yes, that didn't work out so well. I think they changed the system after that, but that's something that came to my mind. And now I'm seeing in the chat new version of Instagram, Samsung Galaxy Note, Snapchat. House, interestingly.
Yeah, I also want to share something with you. So Google Glass in 2013, they might have come too soon. So between a sky-high price and issues around privacy, a cultural backlash, maybe that was just why it didn't connect with customers. We also have the Segway in 2001. Also, they started just with this product, brought it on the market before really testing it. And yeah, the innovation guru Clayton Christensen, who already died, tells everyone, when you launch a new product, you have to find an unmet need and a position the new product to fulfill that unmet need better than anything else. So that just didn't meet one of these needs, because you can go with bicycle and e-scooters. It's just not so much better than everything else. So what helps here? To create something that people really love and appreciate, and to shorten the development cycle for companies, the design sprint was built. And Jake Knapp did that when he was at Google that time. they had this 20% rule that you can make an own project. And actually that was something Jake did. So he went directly, he created this process, and that was mixing different methods that were already there, different frameworks together to come up with this design sprint, so that you in 1 week come from an idea to a tested prototype, not an MVP, not a product, but a prototype, and you create data. So you go from your idea directly to data and then just iterate on that. So actually that is, just remember what I told you before from my product that we wanted to launch after 4 months, and it took us nearly a year until the launch. So if we would have done that with the design sprint, we wouldn't have built that. We would have tested it immediately and then see, also to get more confidence for ourselves. So another key moment for me, so that was one key thing, one key element, how it worked for me and also for many others. And another key moment for myself as a designer was when I discovered that I can share the responsibility and the confidence while we are putting that project together. So before, it was always me being as a designer, being responsible for the great ideas. And now with the design sprint, I have the power and the possibility to make everyone these creators, these creative people. So it's also a shared responsibility. It's not me anymore. I enable everyone to create great ideas. And how you start with a design sprint, so you take a complex problem. So if you just take a very simple thing, you don't need a design sprint. So it needs to be something where a lot of people are involved, and let's say many teams, and it's quite complex, so that you don't have an easy overview. Then you take team, let's say around 7 to 8 people. And why I put these heroes here, it's really, these are special. So these heroes have special superpowers, and that's also how you create your team. So you have different people with superpowers. So everyone has his own experience and contribute with his own perspective. So everyone has the same value in a team. And so that goes from sales over designers, PMs, POs, engineer, customer service, developer. So all kinds of different skills, roles in an organization. And what you need is a decider, because there are some steps where the decider, as let's say with a more strategic point of view, makes the last call. You need experts, and which can be also from the team, and a facilitator. And how you start is you clean a week. So that is maybe a bit drastic, and it's a drastic view, but let's say you need to take time for that. And maybe nowadays, when we do that also virtually, it's maybe several steps in a calendar. It can be also start in 1 week and end in another week. But let's say it's just you need to clean your calendar for coming together. And how you do that, it's kind of when you do the, oh no, it's not working. When you test your prototype, it's like you would look into the future, because you create, let's say, the feeling for your testers, for your interviewees, that this product already exists. And this is how you get feedback for it. Just you make them imagine that your product already exists, and that's how you get the data, the feedback to it. So the design sprint process has 5, let's say, from a high level overview, 5 steps. The first step is you need to understand, you create a common understanding for the whole team. What is our problem? What is the situation where we are in? Then you start to ideate, so you create solutions. The next step is you decide on which of these solutions we want to test. And then you create your prototype from the concept, and then you test it with the users. And I want to share with you also the design thinking process. There's a lot of design thinking in the design sprint. And the design thinking process has either the double diamond, I think everyone heard about that, or triple diamond. And how that works, it's you diverge and then you converge. So you diverge, you open the space. For example, when you think about the challenge, you open your space and you gather a lot of information, and then again, you close the space, because you cannot save the world in just 1 week, but you can start somewhere. And you need to have a common understanding where to start. So what is your focus? And again, then the next diamond, you open the space again, because you create a lot of solutions. And again, then you close the space because you choose one. And then again, you test it. So you gather a lot of information, and then you close it with the feedback from the users. So this is how the design sprint process, let's say, matches the design sprint process. I just illustrated that because a lot of people are asking me for that. And also the difference between design thinking and design sprint. I just want to illustrate also very quickly. So the design thinking is kind of the ingredients, and the design sprint is the recipe. So you have, let's say, take all the different design thinking let's say mindset and elements, and then you put it together in a very, let's say, elaborated recipe, and also very robust recipe. And how that works, I just want to show you. So you start with the understanding, and I just gathered some pictures from let's say a workshop I did, from a design sprint I did. So just to make you clear about, these are real things. You just go outside, you gather information, you get a feeling for what is happening there. You put together all your findings, and this is how you share with your whole team what this situation is about. So this is how you can then, after that, create a focus on a map. You create kind of a situation. So the map, which is can look like that, very simple or a bit more elaborated, but you gather a common overview, a common understanding for the situation, and then you focus on one thing. And so the principle here is instead of what usually is has been, let's say, the rule, you make a perfect plan. You want to plan everything before you start, but in the sprint, you just focus on one key moment and you start from there. So it's not about having a perfect plan. Then when you ideate, ideating means in the design sprint, instead of a group brainstorming where you just gather all different ideas and who is the, let's say, has the most ideas and also has the, let's say, the loudest voice, instead of that, you work together, but alone. So you gather all your concepts and your ideas. So for example, this is a typical concept in a design sprint. You do that alone, and then you share it with your group, and but you work in silence. So you have also focus moment, because when everyone is talking, I just experienced that because for 25 years, I just did a lot of brainstormings, and I always felt a bit lost. I'm very creative, and I also get a lot of ideas when I'm together with people. But then when I want to make that, let's say, I want to define my idea, I also need to have some silence around me and focus on the concept. So this is what you do in a design sprint. And then you need to decide, so which of these concepts that everyone created, should be tested. And it's kind of a bet. So which one would work best? So instead of endless discussions without something visual, you have your concepts. It's a very structured process also to decide, and you make a fast and decisive call what to test. So it looks something like that. So also in silence, this is just one of the steps when you decide. Everyone is also in silence, focusing, structuring all the informations to then be able to make a decision. And then you prototype. So instead of building an MVP, you just fake it. So it should look realistically, but it's still faked. So very often it is kind of a mock-up, it's a click dummy. So just to illustrate it also, you go from concepts. On the left side, you just see, okay, that's virtually. You see these, some of the concepts. And then on the right side, this is how then we, for example, we use Adobe XD, and you can use, there are many, many tools out there, and no-code tools as well. So we just used Adobe XD to create the prototype. This is one example. Another example is, another example is something tangible. So that was a physical product prototype where we just put, I think maybe you can identify that this is something from the garden. So we also put some elements together, and also 3D printing. This was a physical product. Or for example, a lot of things are just tested with landing pages. Let's say more in the marketing phase, just to test if the idea, how the idea would work, how the concept works. And then you test. So you really gather, just instead of waiting for perfect data, let's say create an MVP, waiting for months and months and months when you build that thing. And after that, maybe you have a big focus group and hundreds of people testing the product. You do that in one day. You have 5 interviews, qualitative interviews. It's also a very structured process. And then you have quick and dirty data, but you have that immediately to make your next steps, having the confidence to do the next step. So that might be, I just also want to illustrate that. So that can be something in the room. Very often we just do that also virtually in a Zoom meeting. And I want to share with you as well something that Helen Björkman from Tetra Pak told me last year in a meetup where she shared her process and how they are running DesignSprint at Tetra Pak. So they are saving between 6 to 12 months running 1 week of DesignSprint. So it's super efficient. And why I think you should apply it, because it creates confidence through a framework that's easy to learn and apply, and it's very robust. So for me, that was really an aha moment. And so I found out that having a framework just supports the confidence from the whole team as well. And you are usually, so we are then responsible for the desirability, just to test that. And for everything else, so the tech stuff and also the business part, this is, let's say, the team itself is responsible for that. Because if you have all these people in there, let's say you have engineers and people in the team, there's already the contribution of this, let's say, the fact of feasibility. There might be some things to test as well, but usually you come to a conclusion, let's say something that is viable also for the team. So you don't, what I mean, you don't create, let's say, something or an idea that has nothing to do with the business at all, because it always is related to what, let's say, what assets you have or what capabilities you have. And now I would like to share with you 2 exercises that I found very valuable, which are How Might We's and also Crazy 8s. And now I will stop screen sharing, and I start. Yeah, I start sharing with you the link to the mural board. And I would like to share beforehand how that looks like before I share the screen with you, the link with you. Just a moment. So I just want to show you what we will do. So this is a mural board, and we will do this exercise here. So I already prepared a task for you. So imagine we are here now, let's say we are running a design sprint and we have a task. And let's say one of the exercises in a design sprint is the how might we. So this is in the very first part where we align on the challenge, where we try to understand the challenge and also the different perspectives in the team. And how might we can just help you everywhere. So just if you have a challenge and you want to align quickly with your team, you can just take maybe 20 minutes and create some how might we. So it's helping everywhere, also just to not thinking about the solution immediately. So when you hear a challenge, that you don't start with, oh, I have this idea, let's try this. But that you first think about what is the real challenge behind that. So how you could frame that as a how might we question. So this is what I would like to share with you. And therefore I prepared just an example. So it's, imagine we have a Pocket Saver, which is an app. It's a banking app that supports customers to save more money. And it is easy and with fun. But our challenge is that young people are not aware of saving money. So there's no motivation. And there's also a lack of trust to digital banks in general, but especially that they are not aware of, and they have no motivation. So how we start here, and I will invite you in a minute to the board, and then you can just enter on the board. You can then create, let's say, just take a seat here, put in your name, and then we go to the how might we's. And this is an online whiteboard. I will share the link with you. If you struggle there, we don't have the time to really figure out all the struggles. So you can just observe that here in the Zoom. And I also leave my shared screen, which I usually don't do because it is better when you are on the mural board not to share your screen in the Zoom, but just for the purpose that it's recorded, that everyone can also observe it. I leave my screen shared. So if you struggle anyhow, just watch what everyone is doing, and don't panic. It doesn't matter if you are not able to follow all the movements on the board. So are we prepared to go to the next step? I will share the link with you in the chat. So are there, in between, are there some questions? Oops, Miriam, are there some questions, some issues?
I think we just had a very small exchange that if people, someone commented that if people don't want to clear their schedule for a design sprint, this might be because the project is not important enough for a design sprint. But this could then also be because they haven't gotten to know the design sprint method yet. We concluded that then it would be important to convince people of the method and also to choose the right problem that is important enough.
Yeah, I can give an answer to that. So let's say the original recipe from Jake, how he created the method and how he is running the design sprint. It's just you clean up really 1 week with a whole team of 7 to 8 people. You go into that week and you do the design sprint, and in the end, you just know if you are on the right path. In reality, there are, let's say, some ways how to reduce that time to a core team. Let's say when you do the pure workshop until the decision, or let's say the briefing, how the prototype should look like. That takes usually, let's say, you can do that in 2 days. So there is a way with preparation to do that in 2 days. So when you are in person, so when you have an in-person meeting, then you meet 2 days and you run the design sprint. What I find is very valuable now doing that online, that we have a bit more, let's say, space in between. So we just take the steps. So like the create a common understanding, this would be 4 hours. And you do that, you can then schedule that however that it's valuable and feasible for the team. So it's much easier now when we have not, let's say, when we are able to schedule these hours in between in the calendar to fit all the calendars. So that's much easier. And yeah, it's right. They might not, they might see, oh, another meeting and another workshop. That's just not valuable for me. But maybe you start also with a small workshop. There is, let's say, also a way how to do that. And I see you are already starting. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, so you need to make them experience, and maybe you just invite them for the first session, and then you start creating a common understanding. And when they feel that they are contributing and that their opinion and their expertise is valued, I think this is one of the key points, and also very important here. So, okay. So you already started. I set the timer on 1 more minute. So just create as many how might we's. And you see it's written here. I don't explain that further. I see we have just write as many how might we's. How might we solve that? So how might we about the challenge that young people are not aware of saving money and there's no motivation and a lack of trust. And just to explain the next step in that. So everyone is gathering as many how might we's as possible. And we are now only showcasing that. And you can do that either on such a whiteboard, online whiteboard, or you can do that with real Post-its. You know, you just can do it with real Post-its in a room. It's exactly the same. So now the next step, I just want to invite everyone who is on the board, taking the how might we's and creating some categories. You see the blue Post-its underneath. These are the categories. So take the Post-its and move them under the blue Post-its, create some categories. You can just click on the Post-its and edit the category. So I just make an example. How might we engage with young people to promote the benefits of saving? I just write benefits. So it's about showcasing what are the benefits. Just move them to the categories, because we will make just create the categories, and that's to structure the information so that it's easier to digest. So it's easier to read for the participants. And that's just to share with each other your different perspectives and let's say your experiences. And then we do we prioritize them. we do a voting, also quick voting. And this is only to demonstrate that with for you. And when you do that with the Post-its, you also do it on the whiteboard. You just cluster them. And the voting you are doing with small sticky dots, and we are doing that here with the voting feature in Mural. So I give you another minute, and it doesn't need to be perfect. So it's just to get to know what everyone has written. So I just read out loud some of the stickies. How might we make it fun and relevant to save up money? How might we define the motivations of customers in a way that it's tangible and measurable? How might we make the physical space look more like something young people would like to visit? It's interesting. Okay. How might we explore gamification tools with topics that engage more young people, climate change, etc.? How might we build a product that is easy to use with benefits of saving clearly identified at the beginning of the entry point? Okay, so now it's not yet finished and it doesn't matter. So I would like, just for demonstration purposes as well, I would like to start a voting session, and then you only vote on the Post-its here under the blue Post-it, but only on the yellow ones. So I start a voting session. I give you 3 dots. Now, when I start that, you only can click on the Post-its. And with every click, you give a ranking on the Post-it. You can also add 2, or you can delete one. I just start that, and I give you 1 minute for that. Now I invite everyone to vote on the Post-its. I see that a lot of people are voting. Nearly finished. Fantastic. So 4, 5, 6 more people need to finish. And like I told you, it's just for demonstration purposes. And you can use that exercise whenever you are facing a challenge with a team. For example, when you have communication issues, then you can just run such a session, and it gives you clarity about what are the problems in the team. So 1 second left. I will just close the voting. It might be that not everyone finished voting. It doesn't matter. So, and now we see a kind of a structure, a prioritization. What does the group is thinking? So the group thinks that how might we make it fun and relevant to save up money is the highest ranked challenge. And now we would, when we go into the next step to find solutions, we would focus on that. So it's a very, let's say, very simple and very rough idea about how to solve that. And now I know we don't have enough time, but I want to explain you how the next exercise work, because I use Crazy 8s a lot. And for example, we could now take this, how might we make it fun and relevant to save up money? I put that here. We would use that and find ideas to it. So you would find one idea, and the Crazy 8s are working like that. You take one A4 paper, you fold that 3 times, always in the middle, then you have 8 frames. And now you are using 1 minute each frame to take one idea and make 8 variations out of that. Or you look at the idea from 8 different angles or perspectives, or you just evolve the idea. So you are working on one idea, and you need to do that with pen and paper. So don't do that on a mural board. or on a whiteboard or with a computer, just take a pen, and while you are writing and you have this limited amount of time, just 1 minute, you get your creative juices flowing. And that's how you just go a bit deeper into one idea, or you see if this idea that you just took and you made these 8 frames out of it, if that is valuable enough. Or maybe you say after that exercise, no, I don't want to take that idea, I take something else. So I use that for different things. Also, for example, if I just need a headline, I just take that, and it's 8 minutes and you are so fast, but it really helps to get focused and to get in this creative flow. So now I would like to end the session, and we can just go to the Q&A. We started a little bit later, so I don't know if we will get also some minutes more, but now just up to you, Miriam. I stop screen sharing and let's open the Q&A.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks a lot, Sabrina, for really giving us this insight and taking us on that practical journey on the mural board. Since we in the UX challenge also did, I mean, we also applied the design sprint method. However, we used did our own version of a design sprint in the UX challenge. So that was also very interesting. And I know that some of our colleagues have also different experiences. So I would suggest that we hear from our colleague Dea from the Danish Design Center, who has done a very interesting project, which I think was called Sprint Digital, and maybe want to get some insights. And then after that, why not you feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and then maybe we can find the time to answer 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, sure. I have 2 slides. Would that be okay to share?
Sure. You should be able to share your screen, hopefully.
Perhaps.
If it doesn't work for you, I'm also happy to share my screen.
Can you see anything now?
No.
No. Perhaps it's not working, but yeah, let's not spend time on that.
Happy to share that for you.
Okay, super. Just yeah, I would just like to share a few focused learnings from a project called Sprint Digital, and I'm the project manager running it. Oh yeah, super, thank you. And actually the learnings is more about the format, the design method as a design sprint, and it sort of speaks well with the demonstration you did perfectly, Sabrina, about the virtual sprint contra the physical sprint. But just briefly, Sprint Digital is a national project here in Denmark, running for 3 years, and it's the last year now. And the aim for this project was to use Design Sprint and to support the digitalization of the SMEs using this sprint. So the focus was on getting more SMEs to have a digital projects. Yeah, and if you could just the next slide. Yeah, thank you so much. I've just focused on before and after, and before and not after COVID, but when COVID hit us. We had some changes in the project. We had to make some adaptations to the frame of the project, and we did that just when COVID hit us all. So I've just made some just a few before and after. And before in the project, when we were recruiting the SMEs to participate in the sprints, and they were facilitated by design partners found by open calls. And actually we had some difficulties in recruiting them because they saw it as a nice to have offer. And after, when the COVID or the pandemic hit us all, actually they had this sense of urgency, a high level sense of urgency. So they really needed to be digital in some way to reach the customers. So we had a long waiting list actually for SMEs who wanted to participate in the project. And another change we made was that before we used Sprint as a physical workshop, and the main barrier was that the SMEs didn't have the resources as time to take out the whole week, as you said, Sabrina. And then we did Sprint as a virtual workshop, and it somehow worked a lot better for the SMEs, and they could sort of do it over several weeks instead of just one. And then we also changed the way we use the method. Before it was like one-to-one use from the method of Sprint JNAP, and we allowed the design partners to change and sort of focus on the specific SMEs needs. And it was more like perhaps day 1 and 2 were sort of combined, and then perhaps focus was on prototyping and test. And we allowed them to do that. And just a small, before the COVID, there was a cost for participating, and we just reduced it to 0 to make it really, we saw the need from the SMBs. So yeah, you could just stop sharing now, just to sort of, we found out during this project that the virtual sprint was actually a good fit for our target group in the project, was SMEs. And I know that we heard the design partners saying that in the testing and prototyping and the testing phases, you need that sort of physical interaction, all the observance and all the stuff, all the surrounding information. It's not present when you do it virtually, but we saw that some things were really a success by implementing the sprints and doing it virtually on Mule and Mule. They were sort of like the perfect fit for doing design sprints. So yeah, just a few learnings from our project.
Great, thank you so much for sharing there. Sabrina, I know that you have also done virtual design sprints in the last 1.5 years. Have you also found that this is a very good way to overcome the COVID barriers that we had in the past?
Exactly, yeah, that, and also it was easier to schedule. I think it's exactly the same experience that Dea also just shared with us. Now we can have, let's say, the people in the room, how it fits to their schedule. So it's not like they need to clear up 1 week. So you can do it, let's say, a part on Friday, then you can continue on Monday. And maybe if Tuesday is not possible, we continue on Wednesday. So, but when you come together in a room, you need all the people there. And then it's not like you drive always, let's say 1 hour, need to fly in for several small workshops, but then you really need to clear your calendar for several days. And I think that's something much, much easier to also convince teams. And what I found that usually you have one, the decider or the product owner for this design sprint, but then you always need to have the buy-in from all the others. And that's then the difficult part. So let's say the people who drive the design sprint in a company or in organization, they need to get the buy-in from the whole team. And that's sometimes really difficult. But having, let's say, smaller steps makes it so much easier for them also to convince people and to get, let's say, for some hours their buy-in.
Yeah, I agree. I think we would have time for one question if someone would like to ask our experts, Sabrina and Dea, something, if there was anything.
Maybe I'd like to ask if you already tried out the Design Sprint 2.0 of the agency AGN Smart. Did it also work out for you, because it is almost the same, just only it's 4 days instead of 5 days?
So I learned at Ideating Smart. This was my start, and I used that as well. So the 2-day with the team, and then everything else I did with my own team. But when, let's say now in the virtual setup, it's kind of blurry. It's not like there is the 2-day or the 3-day. It's more kind of, you align your team. So you have these different steps like I showed you, and you take, let's say, a little bit more, a little bit less time. So that's maybe how you do it. You prepare a bit more. And also it's important to do kind of asynchronous work so that you are not online the whole time. I think that's now a bit more blurry, what is 2.0 and, you know, the original version. I don't know, Dia, what's your experience?
Yeah, we just we were very focused on using the 1.0 version, and we have just been in dialogue with Jake actually during the project, and we were like, is it okay that we change the format? Would it be okay? And then we just learned that he was actually changing sort of to a newer version. So yeah, I think you have to adapt somewhat. The sprint method, the concept from Jake is out there, and then you're allowed to adapt or somewhat find your own format using it. Yeah. So it's a mix, a messy, format, yeah.
Yeah, from our experience at the UX Challenge, I can also say that in all 7 countries where we carried out the UX Challenge, we kind of had a little bit of a different format. So we had, like in Germany and I think in Lithuania, we did a 2.5-day version. So it was really condensed and the preparation was really important. And I tried to define some of the how might we questions beforehand with the companies so that the students participating already had something to start at from. I know that our Italian partner did a 5-day sprint, but they only did 5 half days so that the students could actually attend the UX Challenge in the morning and study for their exams the week later in the afternoon, which also worked out pretty well for them. So yeah, for us, it was also very interesting to see what concepts worked and that basically all formats somehow worked, but we all got to learn from them also for the next time. Yeah, perfect. Looking at the time, I think we would wrap up the session in a bit. I would already like to thank Sabrina and Dea very much for sharing their insights. Just to let you know that afterwards we'll have a very small and cozy networking session online as well. So if there are any questions left on design sprints, we can meet there again and exchange on more questions. And of course, you can always check out Sabrina's work and the Danish Design Center's work on their websites and on LinkedIn. I think they're very active there as well. So yeah, thank you very much from my side. Sabrina, would you also like to say goodbye?
Yeah, so I want to thank you for your interest and contribution, and I hope you have at least the takeaway that you can use the how might we's and maybe try